So Bitcoin has just flipped a little bit more bullish, which is good. 32% correction pretty much, and we are starting to see some signs of life. However, this bull market is not on just yet. So I want to show you what I see in the chart and why you should kind of echo some caution, especially with altcoins, and more importantly, what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks if this move carries on. So firstly, we need to talk about the obvious in the room is Donald Trump and the Powell pressure, the tension in the room, the little bit of awkwardness, right? So long story short, Donald Trump has been saying for a long time, if you've watched my previous videos, I talked about it in March and February, he wants interest rates lower. And it feels like there's a little bit of a divide appearing, and you do not want Trump versus the Fed. That will be bad news, put it that way. And I think we'll look at the chart and stick around, don't bugger off. We'll show you what I mean by this entire video in terms of why Bitcoin's bullish and the entire stock market is crumbling. Is there a decoupling? Are we going to follow a certain asset, which I will mention in a second? Problem we have is this. Stuff like this is a bit of an issue. Now, I'll be honest, the president of the UK should not know much about the economic landscape and the economy in terms of what Powell should know. Him to pressure him is going to cause a little bit of a spook in the market. It's going to create more and more instability and more problems. We don't want that to happen. Why do we think this is important? Well, we all know what's happening right now. Gold, that asset I keep mentioning, is absolutely flying to the upside. It's ridiculous, right? Bullion is flying. It's absolutely going for it. And that is creating that instability in the market, which is what we don't want as investors. The S&P's dropping, the Nasdaq's dropping, the Russell 2000's dropping. Individual stocks are dropping. Bitcoin currently is holding and actually rising a little bit. And I said before in previous videos, are we going to behave more like gold or more like the S&P? Recently, it's been the S&P. We want that decoupling to happen. So it's starting to show some sign of life. The reality is, though, we are still at 47 risk on the greed side of it. So we're still on the risky side, in my opinion, because often we find that we get very bullish at resistance levels, which is when we know, by the way, just saying. So be careful. So let me know in the comments what you think currently right now. Are you worried about the next couple of weeks or months? Because I think there's a problem which could be brewing, and we do not want to have the damaged side of it if it kind of materializes into a bit more. So let me know in the comments what you think. Are you a little bit worried about the current macro landscape? Let's talk about Bitcoin, shall we? It's quite straightforward, let's be honest. We're doing what I kind of somewhat expected. I talked about this on my X account, saying we're going to go to the green zone soon. And we have had, well, let's be honest, this is a change of character, but it's a bit wishy-washy. It's not the best in the world, I will argue that, because it's a bit ugly. But the reality is we are kind of showing some sign of life, which is good. We're above certain metrics. Certainly on the RSI, we're up to the 60% mark now on the daily time frame. It's looking relatively strong and good. Problem we have is we're not out of the woods yet. For me, structure matters more than anything. $92,000 level is the one I'm watching, and it's the most important level on this chart, in my opinion. The other more obvious one is down here, but let's be honest here, this key level support around $74,000, $72,000 is quite a way off, so just chill your beans right now. So yeah, we need to be mindful of this. But for me, when we look on the higher time frames, yeah, we're starting to show some signs of life, and it's looking a bit good, and that daily level of a change of character could be coming into it, and we have had a bullish bearish divergence below this. More importantly, we're starting to flip bullish on the 3-day time frame and going towards that green level. As I say though, do not get too bullish at resistance, because the one thing that worries me more than anything, and if you agree with me, like the video, Donald Trump could say one thing and one thing only, and it will do one or two things to the market. It will either pump it or dump it. More often than not, it dumps it. So we need to be very, very mindful. Shall we talk about Ethereum? Now, in my Discord yesterday, people were getting pretty excited. On my Patreon, jump in. It's now £10 a month, or under £5 a month now, technically. If you want to jump in, links below. Feel free to jump in. It is very, very cheap. Now, altcoin rally, nah, not even close yet, in my opinion, boys and girls. And I know the thumbnail says it. It's the reality, though. This is the Ethereum chart. We have not had any sort of trend change, in my opinion. When we look at the BTC pair, of Ethereum, we're going to start getting a little bit of upsetness in my viewpoint, because we are still at these levels of where the fuck is this bottom going to end? Where are we going to stop? What's going to happen next? And we are still hurtling towards the absolute drops. We may well get some relief bounces, but what I've said in previous videos, and as I said before, you are going to find that when Bitcoin is strong and leading the pack, you're going to find that altcoins will struggle. And I feel like that's going to happen. And it feels like this is not an altcoin rally anywhere near yet. Ethereum has to step up, or we're still in Bitcoin season. And that's all across the data everywhere, right? And the reason why I say that is because people are just missing the obvious in the room here. Bitcoin dominance is absolutely still flying, and that has not changed for the last couple of weeks. These are weekly candles. It is absolutely hurtling. How many orange candles in my chart, or green candles for you, do we need to get to kind of prove the point here? Don't be just lobbing into altcoins thinking you're going to get rich because dominance is high. No, you need to wait for a reversal signal. You need to wait for it to come down properly. Now, slightly bullish in a way on altcoins, or maybe capital return to the market, is the fact that the USD, USDC, whatever, basically the stable currency dominance, is showing some sign of weakness. Now, that is all I'm going to say. It's potential weakness. This is not across the board. This might just be into Bitcoin and certain altcoins only versus the entire tide. For this to really, really show some sort of life, it needs to melt and properly nuke. And we'll talk about the other alternative in a second of why this is kind of bullish, but kind of people are forgetting about it. Now, the reality for me is this needs to absolutely die. It needs to go back into these low-level percentages, especially when we talk about this bull market here, where we kind of were at these low points. It needs to really drop into those 3-4% levels. That isn't going to happen anytime soon, but it might be. And let's talk about why I'm talking about other metrics, is because the dollar is normally a very good bullish indicator. When this drops, crypto and all the other risk-on assets, so to speak, tend to pop. But because the market has been a little bit odd, i.e. gold is flying, the stock market is dropping, Bitcoin is kind of a bit stuck, false starting sometimes, it's interesting. But, as I say, and as I go back to it, the dominance of stable currencies for our market needs to drop a lot. It needs to keep going, basically. It needs to drop a couple of percent. And then we could get very, very excited. And as I mentioned before and a couple of times, this is gold. Absolutely hurting. And that is shining one very big, red, ugly flag at us. It's mental. It's not panicking at all. It's green light for crypto if it keeps climbing, in my opinion, because the liquidity may well return from gold into crypto. So what is my plan? I'm still holding my Bitcoin. I get a lot of comments asking about that, and feel free if you want to ask more, feel free, as I say, comment, right? But I am still holding Bitcoin. I'm not going to be selling Bitcoin anytime soon. I'm still dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin via my DCA challenge, which is up to $14,000, $15,000 now, starting from September, which is pretty awesome. So it's doing well. The problem we have is altcoins, where do they go? I am currently trying to, well, I say the word keyword is trying to trade more with altcoins, just because I want to buy more Bitcoin over the course of time and just grow wealth. A couple of altcoins are not doing very well, but some of them are. It's just the way it is. Now, for me, when we're looking at trading, dollar cost averaging onto Bitcoin, simple. Trading altcoins based off momentum and hype is relatively straightforward. You don't have to go long all the time. You don't have to go short all the time. You just have to play the moves and the narratives of the market that you can present itself, right? It's simple as that. Now, for me, especially if you're looking at my Patreon, you'll notice that a lot of people jump on trends, and it happens a lot. The only thing you can do is ride the entire market move at certain points. You don't have to get the whole move. You don't have to get bits of the move. You just have to look at certain things. Now, look at hype, for example. I'll give you an idea. Now, I've missed this entry, personally, because I've been playing around and fucking about with my trading strategy, but I've figured stuff out now. Now, when you talk about some big moves, that is now a uptrend. It's went from a downtrend into an uptrend. It's had a nice little reversal. It's been relatively straightforward in terms of how this has moved. The reality is here, this market will move more than you think, and it does move pretty aggressively. And when we talk about the likes of Chainlink, for example, which is what I'm keeping an eye on, when we talk about how this has dropped so much in terms of a downtrend, if you were short there on a low leverage, you might well have been winning some nice little USD. That's a reality that people are forgetting, and I think it's very much untapped in this market of liquidity, where people are scared to trade because they think they're going to get destroyed with leverage. The reason why I say that, I get a lot of questions about exchanges. I'm in the UK. We get blocked off most of them. Blowfin's are one that you can use. There's no KYC. Easy enough. You do not have to use high leverage, by the way. And that's the situation. People are scared about altcoins, but reality is, right, with altcoins, weirdly, you could have went short in certain moments, you could have went long at certain moments, and you could ride past this move up. You don't have to, as I say, you can use very, very limited leverage, but the facility to go short and use that as a playbook is huge. And I think people just don't do it. And people get very upset when I say I'm going short. But the reality is half the time that I've made some money there when realistically I could have been holding my bags and just losing value. What's the point of that? That's why I no longer invest in them. So the game's changing a little bit, but it's not full on send season. It's not full on bounce season. If you want to stay ahead of these moves with some analysis and some sort of trading plan, which I will be providing overall, especially on my Patreon, especially on this channel every single day pretty much, hit the subscribe button and also make sure you like the video. There's a video that I'm recommending from last week. Check it out. It's a good one.